Hi, and welcome back to Building Pathways to Healthy Minds. Today I talk to Dr. Natalie Fikac, who is a mental health professional, an educator for over 30 years. And her educational experience began as an elementary school teacher and interventionist, then as a school counselor at both the elementary and secondary levels, a campus administrator and district level administrator. She has served at the TEA, which is the Texas Education Agency, on mental and behavioral health teams, and now supports school mental health at the regional level at the University of Texas in Austin. She's the owner and CEO of Be Well, Lead Well, LLC, and lives by the motto, "You can't pour from an empty cup," aspiring to promote self-preservation and self-compassion in all areas of her life. She is passionate about growing leaders as a certified Dare to Lead trainer by Dr. Brene Brown, and is certified to teach SMART, stress management and resiliency training, which she does around this state of Texas and talks to educators and students and families about mental and behavioral health. So today, we got to dive into those topics. And so I hope you enjoy this conversation. Grab a cup of coffee or tea or head down the road and enjoy our conversation about being mindful, self-compassionate, and how to cultivate emotional intelligence in children, vision boarding, and giving ourselves and others permission to feel. Enjoy the show. Well, thank you, Natalie Fikac, for being here today. I'm so excited to get to talk to you today.
Thank you.
And I would love to know more about what you do in wellness consulting. What does that entail?
Yeah, so I am very blessed to get to do every single thing I get to do is like a part of my purpose and my passion. So I work at the University of Texas in Austin at TIMH, which stands for the Texas Institute for Excellence in Mental Health. And we are a small sector of the School of Social Work, and we're a grant funded team. And right now, the grants that I'm a part of in my full time job, it's just one right now because one just ended, but it's the Texas Stronger Connections Grant, which is a grant that goes through the Texas Education Agency. And we work with Education Service Center 16 up in Amarillo. And we're working with 99 school districts across Texas, helping them build stronger connections. And there's many ways that happens, but one of the streams of work that we do is culture and climate, like assessing culture and climate and helping schools learn best practices to address those needs. And the other stream of work that we do with that grant is basically diagnosing how well you're meeting the needs of the whole child. And so
Wow.
there was an assessment created by the University of Maryland called SHAPE. It's been 5 or 6 years ago. And so we created a version of that specific to Texas and the statute requirements of supporting the mental health of students. And so basically schools, these 99 school districts and over 400 campuses that are a part of these districts, a part of the grant, use the tools that we've created to have a better understanding of the needs of their campus so that they can put practices in place so that the whole child is better met. The
That is
need.
amazing.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
So do you meet with individual teachers or do you meet with more of the administrative teams?
It's really more of like whoever on the campus and the district are in charge of the grant. Like we provide them with information and they disseminate that to the teachers and the staff. Yeah, it's kind of like a hierarchy, I guess you could say. And so at TIMH, there's a lot of different streams of work. One was that just ended at the end of August was the Texas System of Care work, which was working with local mental health authorities in Texas who were recipients of grant funds to support schools and wraparound services for student mental health. So it was an approach of the local mental health authority and working with school district personnel and providing a family partner supports from a peer, also called peer support, and then a licensed clinician wrapping around a family whenever there were mental health needs or challenges of a child in school. That's kind of like in the nutshell of what I've done at TIMH. And then I do some other work on the side that is really also very important to me. I work for Angelo State University as an adjunct in their school counseling program because my background is school counseling, and at Liberty University, same thing. And do some coaching with a company called Better Up. And then Wellness First Consulting is just my little side hustle business where I get to work with whoever is interested, but essentially it's mostly schools, school leaders, school professional educators, professional school counselors, either providing professional development or training or technical assistance. I am a Dare to Lead facilitator, so I got to work with Brene Brown back in 2019 and have rolled out her curriculum across the country in many spaces. And then a mindful self-compassion teacher. So I worked with Kristen Neff's team and then get to do that in whatever capacity. And then SMART certified, which SMART stands for stress management and resiliency trained. And that's through some work of Dr. Amit Sood. That's a lot. So, but
Well,
anyways,
that's amazing. All of it is amazing. So, quick branch off of that. So,
sure.
that mindful self compassion piece. Do you
Yeah.
use that with children and adults? And what does that look like?
I mean, at the base level, it's integrated into who I am as a person.
Mm.
Like the mindful self-compassion practices, exercises, and knowledge that I have now. The full training that you can walk people through is about 24 hours long. It has not been like child or youth facing it or young person facing. It's for me, it's been more like educator, leader facing, school counselor facing. And with the hope that when we learn how to take care of ourselves, we're actually modeling strong emotional intelligence for our children or our young people that we
Great.
support either in our homes or in our schools, and they'll see that. And I mean, it's common sense stuff, right? So it's just kind of taking care of yourself so you can take care of others.
And doing it mindfully, like
Yeah.
being aware what we're thinking, what we're
Yeah.
saying, internal monologue type
Yeah.
things. That's really beautiful.
Thanks.
All right. Well, let's jump into the emotional intelligence piece, something that goes hand in hand with child builders. So we do a lot of safety training, and then we also have our social and emotional learning curriculum, which is near and dear to my heart. I use it in my classroom. I helped write it, and it's a lot about empathy and recognizing emotions, emotional control, community, all these things that I love, and these beautiful pieces. Um, so I just have a few questions today, just kind of talking to parents and educators, ways we can cultivate this in our homes, in our classrooms. So let's just start at the beginning. And what are the main components of emotional intelligence that parents and educators should be aware of?
To me, it encompasses a lot of things, but I'm going to use Dr. Hamid Sood's definition that I learned through his SMART training, which what he says is there are four components to emotional intelligence. It's self-awareness plus awareness of others plus self-compassion plus compassion for others. And it's those four things, those four tenets that really mean emotional intelligence.
I love that. I love it. Just makes me think if all of us could have compassion for ourselves and compassion for others, what a
Yeah.
beautiful world that would be.
For sure. That could be a song.
Yeah. And I love that word too, the compassion, empathy.
Yeah.
We can show ourselves and then in turn give that to other people. And so, what are some ways as parents we can, I guess, instill that in our children?
So one thing that I have done and read about and learned about, and one way that we can learn how to be more compassionate towards others or towards ourselves is to find what we have in common with people. And
Mm.
so when we can find common ground or something, a quality or a belief system or a value that we have in common or an experience with someone, that's the number one way to build compassion for other people. And oftentimes when I get to be with school staff and do professional development, it's not always the favorite thing to do the icebreaker stuff. But if you can find someone that you don't typically get to talk to or don't typically know very well or work with, and ask a few questions like, who are you? What's your why? Why, what do you do on this campus or in this district? What do you do to take care of yourself? What's your favorite, Netflix show, book, whatever that might be. And when the educators are doing that, I challenge them to find as many things as they can that they have in common with that person. And then afterwards, we talk about, okay, well, you just build compassion for that other person, and do this in your classrooms because we actually do have a lot more in common than we do different.
Yeah.
So that's a real easy way to do that.
Yeah. And I remember there's that Brene Brown video on empathy where it talks about how what we really want in life isn't like a fix, but it's connection. That's what
Absolutely.
makes things better.
Yeah.
Um, and so I love that cultivating connection. And I'm thinking about even in my own classroom how we share our journals writing, and then we talk about like, is there a question that you have for this person, or is there a connection that you have to their journal?
I love
Which
that.
is just silly like things that you're just doing in your classroom without realizing those are the foundational pieces
Yeah.
of connecting and when we see each other.
And sometimes, I mean, it takes dialogue to do that. Thinking back to my children, my three sons who are now in their 20s, but um, I mean, I remember just like doing this and not really knowing what I was doing, but even like in the line at Whataburger or like the line at Walmart or the grocery store, just teaching them to notice what's around them and draw connections or, hey, you have the same color shirt as that person next to you. While it's kind of an external, trait or something that you might have in common, just teaching them like to find connections and find things that we have in common with people.
Yeah, we're all here together and we're more similar, like you said, than we are different. So, what are some everyday practices parents could use to help their children recognize and maybe label emotions, talk about emotions, or
So
teachers?
yes,
And
things. When you were talking about the journal writing, the first thing I thought of was like it would be awesome if each kid had a little post-it note, and as they're listening to their classmates share or whatever, maybe they jot something down like, oh, I connect with that. Like, and my brother read that book, or my sister's on that team, or my mom had that teacher when she was at this school, or like just kind of teaching them and like prompting young people to notice, I think
yes,
mindful practice, right? Um, and for parents, I think it's the same, right? And it's making that mind body connection to what someone is feeling. As an example, this morning I was with counselors in the San Antonio area, and I would at the beginning of each training we do a brain dump where basically they just like dump everything that they're thinking about. And as they're doing that, I encourage them, I want you to really think about what you're feeling. Like, is your heart racing? Are you getting stomach burn when you write that? Is that making your shoulders tense? And just mind body connection is not always natural for a lot of people. And so continuing to like encourage people to make those connections and then connecting it with a feeling. There's also some really good, there's some really great like visualizations about talking about feelings, like recognizing, oh, that's sadness. Sadness feels like this in my stomach today or in my head
mm,
today. Everyone feels sad, like normalizing feelings, talking about them. I think those are some good things. And where my head is going on this is Brene Brown's newest book called Strong Ground. And I have not read past her prologue, but the prologue is essentially like why she wrote the book is she realized that there was not a connection with mind and body for her. She was really like just in her head and not thinking about how her feelings were making her body feel. And so I'm curious like what the rest of the book will be about. But mind body connection is not natural for a lot of people. And I think for parents with young children, talking about that, recognizing, hey, when mommy was just at the red light and looked a little frustrated, and you saw
yeah,
me scowl or you saw me drive a little faster when the light turned green, it was because I was anxious because I didn't want you to be late for this. And like naming your feelings, talk about them, normalizing them, and because we all had them.
Yeah. And I think when we do that with children, they grow up to hopefully that's easier for them than it
Yeah,
is for some of us who are so used to just
for sure.
feeling all the and not even thinking about what we're thinking or feeling or why are we acting this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking to
And
our
it's
kids.
a saying that a lot of counselors and educators use, like name it to tame it. So if you can name
Mm,
what you're feeling, then you can probably work through it in a healthy way. Um, even with thinking back to when I was on a campus or even with my boys, like when they would maybe make a poor choice or do something that they would typically wouldn't do, like, rather than saying, "Why did you do that?" Say, "What happened to you?" Like,
mm.
what happened that made you feel that way, that to act that way?" And helping our young people connect actions are related to feelings, and usually that's done through dialogue.
That this didn't just happen for no reason. There's
Right.
always a why behind everything. How can teachers create classroom environments, do you feel, that support the growth of emotional intelligence? What are some things I guess we could do? We talked about naming our emotions. I know bringing connections in there. Is there anything else that you find useful in classrooms?
I think that, it starts with the professional educator who's leading the classroom, and so that person, like, sharing how they're feeling.
Mm,
Um, as an example, it's been a long time since I was a teacher and had a whole classroom, I was a 4th grade teacher for a long time. But I remember with my students, like, every morning we would do some sort of check-in, and,
mm,
I mean, it could be a thumbs up, thumbs to the side, thumbs down. It could be like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I would just maybe they're sitting at their desk. You're like, "Good morning. I'm so glad you're here. Everyone hold up the number of fingers of how you're feeling." And you kind of model what that means, even your thumbs up, thumbs side, thumbs down. But I remember like telling my kids, I would say we had a percentage because I was a math teacher. Okay. Like on a 0 to 100%, I might say, I am at a 50% today. Like my
mm,
kids kept me up. I got home late from my husband's basketball game. I'm really tired. It's the end of the week, but I'm gonna give you 100% of my 50%.
mm.
I'm gonna give you 100% of my 20%, whatever that might be. And I didn't realize I was doing this, but really I was building emotional intelligence with my students and normalizing that it's okay to have a bad day
Yeah.
and it's
And
okay.
push through, but
Yeah,
also name it.
yeah. And so I think that's one thing you can do. I think that integrating stories, books,
Mm,
short videos, social and emotional lessons, competencies that talk about emotions
yeah.
is helpful. Even having them illustrate emotions, making things out of Play-Doh. Some kids don't want to talk about it, and that's okay. So finding a way that they can still communicate how they're feeling, either with colors, ground colors, or drawing a smiley face or a face, using emojis. There's lots of ways. But I think at the minimum, making sure that that professional educator is demonstrates their humanity, how they're actually feeling and not always, I mean, sometimes I don't want to say don't fake it, but like acknowledge when you're having a bad day. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of, unfortunately, students who go home and they don't talk about that. And so we have an opportunity in schools
Yeah.
to.
I love that you've kind of said that with parents and educators, the same kind of piece, which is maybe we just bring connection to with our kids. Hey, today I'm having a bad day. Today I did this because I was anxious or
Yeah.
sad. I've talked to my daughter at times when we've been in the car and I get frustrated with someone driving and I don't really want to model that for her. But, there are moments when it happens. And I think what we've said in the past, where I've kind of come back to, is that really made me nervous. Like that made me scared when that
Yeah.
person cut me off or when they ran over the line and they didn't see me. It made me scared and that's why I reacted. It's that
I
what
feel
you
that.
said.
and going deeper and connecting that and not just like naming the feeling, but like the underlying, like what you were really feeling
Yeah.
and
Like
what,
not just the how dare that person. No, like I'm reacting because I was fearful or
and
sad.
there, that reminds me, Brene Brown's 2 books ago, Atlas of the Heart was a book about, I think it's 83 different emotions and how emotions are connected. I remember before her book came out, just went, I had always heard like behind all anger is fear. And so
Hmm.
when you have an angry student or an angry parent, or you're angry, like what are you really scared of?
What's going on?
And so like talking about that, and what I love about Brené's book is it breaks down feelings into clusters or pairs. And I know that there are some parents, my kids are older now, but we'll just take one page at a time of that and just read it and talk about it and then kind of dig a little bit deeper into the happy, sad, mad, glad, four feelings
That's
that we
great.
typically only know. Another really great book that I highly recommend is Mark Brackett. He's a Yale professor, and he has a book called Permission to Feel, and he puts feelings into four quadrants. And he's doing some really amazing stuff with schools up in the Northeast, or for actually anyone who just wants to be a part of it, called Ruler.
Okay.
RULR. And it's basically a framework that schools, they build the curriculum on top of social and emotional competencies and feelings work rather than like that being pushed, like
Something
social
different.
needs being pushed into, to academics. So he had a ton of research and success with that.
Ah, that's so neat. One thing I sometimes do in my classrooms in the past, and then I did this as a parent, which was that cool down spot where
Yes.
we get, and I actually just used this last week with one of my students who was, I couldn't even get out of her what was going on because it was almost like she was about to hyperventilate. And
Yeah.
so they just sit, they look at the glitter bottle, they drink some water. That's what she did, just sat there. And I didn't even realize it, but she could come back and then like reintegrated into doing something,
You say
giving
that.
them space, like to feel.
This elementary campus I was on today was a professional development day. And each classroom was getting a bag, which was their calm down corner. And so
Nice.
in their bag was a rug, a coloring book, small and large fidgets, sensory stickers, calming posters, a sound machine, small notebooks, a lap desk or cushion, markers, coloring pencils, positive affirmation cards,
Oh,
that
that's
everything was
great.
getting. And what a brilliant idea. And we were talking about this morning, and I also have a friend whose school does this, and they have one at home too. Cool down space that,
As parents,
yeah,
and create a little space in your home. Or we've talked about how, as my daughter got older, it became more of a box full of
yeah,
stuff that she could just take out and sit with. So, doesn't if you don't have a space designated, even just a little container
I love,
basket.
and that's truly is building emotional intelligence because they're recognizing, oh, I'm feeling this way. This is what I'm feeling, and this is how I can move through that feeling. I know I can go to this space for a few minutes, calm down, and then maybe I'll be ready to process. Because what we know about feelings is even when feelings aren't named, like if you're in a room full of angry people, even though no, it's not being named, the feelings are still being felt, like out loud.
So, just as a parent, in your experience, because I still there's moments for me where I'm not sure where the line is of we want to give them permission to feel. But then there are moments in life where you really want to shape your child into being resilient and a person who can pick themselves up and like we still have to go. So, do you have any practical advice on that or thoughts on where is that line? Do we give them time to feel and then, but we also still expect them to kind of get it together after they've felt all the things? What do we do?
That's a kind of actually a hard question because I think about my three sons. They were and they are so different. What they needed then as children and adolescents and what they need now as adults is also still very different. I wonder if just having dialogue, depending on the age of the child with them, like, how can I support you? Like, what does support look like when you're feeling this way? And, they're not, when you have a 4-year-old, they're not going to probably be able to tell you that. But as they're, in upper elementary and middle school,
Yeah, like we still
just,
have to do life. So
yeah,
what can I do to help you get out the door
yeah. And
in
like
5 minutes?
telling them, like, my goal as your parent is to love you and to support you and to help you be the best version of yourself, whatever that looks like. And this is my first time to have you and raise you and support you. And so you can always talk to me about what you need, and that will shift and that will change. And I mean, there were consequences for poor behavior choices
Mhm.
because, but the consequences even look different for each child because they respond in different ways. So I'm not really answering your question other than like,
No,
uh,
but I think it feels good to hear somebody who, who is all about loving emotions and having self-compassion and compassion for others say there is still, the consequence piece. And I think that's hard to walk through as parents. I
yeah,
never want
be
my daughter to think because she had these emotions, she's being punished. But
right.
also, I want her to grow up to be a caring, loving adult who's not, struggling. So there have to be some kind of consequences.
And if their emotion leads to like hurting someone else or hurting themselves or something that's destructive, like that's different than me just being sad because I didn't get to, my best friend like didn't play with me on the playground
I,
today.
I kind of touched on this, but one of the questions I was going to ask was how does cultivating emotional intelligence in childhood influence success and well-being in adulthood? How does that go together?
I'm imagining there is a huge correlation between success in life and understanding emotions and being emotionally intelligent. I think that we will have more empathetic workforce and world if
Yeah.
we have a better understanding of emotions. There's a really great quote that I often talk about by Manoush Shafiq, and it says, she says, in the past, jobs were about muscles. Now they're about the brains, but in the future, they'll be about the heart.
Mm,
And so we are raising children in different ways than we were raised, most likely. Maybe we're the parent, maybe we're the parent that we needed, or we're
right.
trying to be the parent that our parents weren't, or maybe there were things that our parents did that we just wanted to do the same with because it felt good for us. But I think we're just kind of on this journey of doing what we feel is best in our hearts based on
Mhm.
what's happening. And I mean, think about how much the world is changing with AI and technology and everything, and it is kind of a no one knows. Scary.
Right. Right. And I think we've seen that swing in education where we're like, we for too long have neglected some
Yeah,
of those social and emotional components. And look what's happened. We have a lot of anxiety, we have a lot of mental health issues going on in our world. And, I think even as I was growing up, it just we weren't really taught how
right.
to be mindful or how to
Yep.
care for ourselves, listen to our emotions, listen to our bodies. And
About feelings was vulnerable and vulnerability is weakness, and
mhm,
we don't do that. And when you look at schools now and or just education in general, there's really nothing a teacher couldn't teach a child that they couldn't Google or ask ChatGPT
right.
or AI, right? And so what is the point?
Mhm,
Like, what's the point of schools? Like, if they
right.
can learn everything from their laptop or their phone, perhaps maybe it is teaching people to be good humans, which is all
Yeah.
emotional intelligence.
And being part of community that
Yeah,
they love and that loves them, truly loves them. Yeah,
because that may not be happening at home.
exactly. Well, and yeah, and technology really has changed things. Um,
World.
yeah, we need that one-on-one talking through emotions, really
Mhm.
thinking about what we're feeling. Because I can even use technology to kind of check out, even
Yeah,
not having it as a kid. it's
Yeah.
something I run to often, like, oh, I just don't want to think about it. I'm stressed, I'm tired, I'm anxious. Let's just scroll. And you have kids who they
Exactly.
don't even know that's why they're doing it. It's just
Yeah.
life.
That's all I've known.
Yes. Let's talk a minute because you talked about vision boarding. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do with vision boards, what that looks like? It's always
Sure.
been something I've loved.
So vision boarding is basically a blank slate for people to dream, envision, um, manifest, if you want to use that word, kind of what they want in life,
Mm,
whether that's professionally or personally. It's essentially a way for you to plan, construct, visualize where you want to go.
mm,
So, but it looks different for everyone. Like it's really open ended. There are some questions you can ask yourself, like, what do I, and it can be like time bound. Like, let's just say it's for the school year or for a semester or for the
yeah.
next 5 years. Um, and you think about the 8 dimensions of wellness from SAMHSA, which are emotional wellness, financial wellness, intellectual wellness, spiritual wellness, physical, emotional. I know I'm missing one of them, but thinking about the 8 dimensions of wellness and you as a person and what you need to do to become the best version of yourself. So,
Mm,
anyways, there's a lot. It's basically a blank slate. It's a poster board, and there's quotes and paper and stickers, and you just kind of lay out what you want your life to look like. Like sometimes it's centered around a word. Like I like
mhm,
to have one word for the year of how I want to show up in life. Like this
mm,
year, actually, my word is compassion.
mm,
In the past, it's been balance, surrender, balance again, nature, grounded, open. And so, anyways, that's kind of a way to you want your year or whatever to look like. So, example, I know y'all can't see this, but there's like someone playing tennis. I used to play tennis when I was a little girl, and I don't play anymore, but I need to get in shape. Fall makes me happy. So there's pumpkins, chase sunsets across the globe. When I retire, I want to travel a lot. I'd really like to become sound bowl healing certified and learn about sound bowls. I want to radiate positivity. Here's like a passport with different stamps. I want to be divinely guided by God and I want to travel. I want to go camping in the woods and take the natural road less traveled. And so, anyways, since y'all can't see this, essentially it's just a big collage of who I want to be. So,
Well, I think that's really beautiful because I don't think we take much time. Like we have all these thoughts in our brain, but we don't have time to really often think through exactly who we are and who
yeah.
our kids are and what they want, or even just to ask them. I've seen recently like lists of questions. I think it was like on Instagram or something. It was like, ask your kids these questions instead of just, how was your day? It was like, what's
Yeah.
something that makes you really nervous right now? Or if you could do anything, what would it be? Questions like that, that were a little more pointed, asking specifics. So doing a vision board with your kids at home or with your students, like I'm thinking already, that would be such a cool activity to do with my students and incorporate
And
art.
like a classroom vision board. Like this is what
Yeah.
as a class we want our school year to look like. Even with your
Yes.
family, like this is what we want our family to feel like look like and then revisiting it. And one of the great things about vision boards, what I was telling them this morning is like find an integrity partner, someone in this room who can check in with you however often, like let's say every 2 weeks, like let's say you're my integrity partner and I'm like, okay, every 2 weeks I want you to just ask me how I'm doing, how I'm
Yeah.
going into this, and if I'm like reaching my goals, if I need to adjust anything. And so again, that's noticing and being aware of your emotional intelligence, right?
Right.
You just made me think of something that goes along with like open-ended questions for your kids. One strategy that Dr. Sood taught us when we were getting trained is the 2-minute rule. And the 2-minute rule is when you get home or you see someone that you haven't seen in a long time, we'll just say your kids, it's the end of a school day. Pretend like you haven't seen them in 2 years. 3 years, however long. And for 2 minutes, don't correct or ask any questions.
Mm.
Just sit with them, listen. And in the beginning, it's a little uncomfortable. We had to behavioralize all these things as trainers because they're like, "Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Normally, when I would get home from work, I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, do we have practice? Do I need to sign a
Things.
paper? Is there a field trip permission slip? I need to get lunch ready for tomorrow." And so I would just boom, 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 boom as soon as I got home. But with the 2-minute rule, it encourages you to not question or not ask any questions or correct anything, just listen. And
Mm.
unbelievable way help your kids feel seen and heard. And
I
my
really like.
kids, like, no, I'm not ever gonna say, "How was your day?" I'm gonna
Mhm.
say, "What was the best part of your day? What was something that
Mm.
was funny that happened today? Um, what was your favorite class? What is something new that you learned?" They just after, I guess, however many years, even now in their 20s, like, my 20-year-old in College Station will be like, "I know, like, Donna, the best part of my day was," like so anyways, yeah, those open-ended questions are really helpful.
That's really cool. I love that. I'm gonna start that, doing a 2-minute, just
Yeah,
sitting together.
yeah,
It's hard, and it's hard for us who are used to go, 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 going,
yeah,
We don't know what we're feeling half the time, but our
exactly.
kids are feeling. What do you wish every parent, teacher, or caregiver knew about raising emotionally intelligent kids?
I think I would say everyone's doing the best they can. When we have students in our classroom who make it difficult for us to do our jobs, like, just know the parents are not keeping the ones that aren't difficult at home. Like, they're sending us their best.
Mhm.
And all behavior is communication. So, what is this child trying to communicate by acting this way or doing this or saying this? Every person that you meet is doing the best that they can.
Mm.
A colleague who's difficult, a relative who's difficult. In order to be truly compassionate and self compassionate and emotionally intelligent, like, that's a really important piece of it. And people can change. And we can, through neuroplasticity, we can model appropriate reactions, feelings, compassionate responses, and we can slowly rewire our brains and at the same time help other people rewire their brains. So just by modeling and life is hard. Like,
Mm.
common humanity is a big piece of mindful self-compassion. Common humanity just is means like we're not alone. We're not the only parent having a hard time with a teenager. We're not the only teacher who feels tired and worn out and upset about X, Y, and Z. And we're not the only parent who's trying to figure out how to navigate screen time. you
Right.
know, and sometimes we isolate ourselves because we feel like we're the only ones, and communication and finding a group of people that you trust that is going through the same thing can be really helpful.
Kind of along with that, I don't know if this is, you pretty much answered it, but I usually ask if there's one thing you'd want someone to walk away with today about emotional intelligence and raising children and being teachers, what would that be?
Kind of like what I just said, but I would say, like, embrace your humanity and share about your humanity. And what I mean by that is we're all figuring everything out all day long as a parent, as a caregiver, as a daughter, as a wife, as a mom, as a teacher, as a counselor, whatever. And we're gonna mess some stuff up. And
Yeah.
it's okay to admit that and be vulnerable. And like, it's okay to not have it all together and to know how to handle things. And in order to get to a place where everyone feels safe, seen, heard, valued, I think part of that is us being self compassionate enough to admit whenever we're doing a great job or maybe not doing a great job and talk about it and model our humanity.
And be vulnerable and
Yes.
truthful.
I tell
Love
my
that.
boys oftentimes, like, I am sorry. Like, this is the first time I've had a 27, 25, and 20-year-old, and I'm still figuring this out. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure that I didn't show up the right way or say the right thing, or I could have done better, but I'm just doing the best I can. So,
Well, and I think that's a big deal for parents to remember is that there's always a chance to repair, go
Absolutely.
back and say, man, I am so sorry. I didn't react the way I wanted to. And that's okay too, you know?
Yeah, so true.
Well, I loved having you today, and this was great. Thank
Thank you.
you. All right, that's our episode for today. Sometimes in this job, you get to meet someone who you just connect with and automatically feel a like mindedness with. Natalie was that way. She truly gives off an air of compassion, and I could tell she wholeheartedly believes the things she teaches. Remember to give yourself lots of compassion today and remind the children in your life that feelings are okay. Our feelings teach us more about ourselves and that we are all doing our best in this world. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. You can leave us comments or questions. We love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. Until next time, stand strong, stay safe. Bye.